Hello all my JavaScript friends, this is TheVirtuoid, aka Mike Smith, and this is our snake game. This video is going to cover the messages class, and the messages class is used to be able to transfer messages to the UI so that the UI can print out the particular messages. This is actually a new class that I have created that was not part of the original design, but as I was creating the actual game itself, to test all the different theories that I'm working with here, I realized that, hey, I needed some way to be able to pass messages from a single repository out to the UI so the UI will know what to do with itself. Because messages could change over time. You don't want to hard code your messages within all the different UI classes. You want to have one single source of truth or one single repository. So for example, as you're looking at here, I don't have this part, snake on HTML, or statistics done, or score length done, but I do have these two done, the game over and collided with wall. And these are messages that are stored within our messages class that when we have a game over event or that we have a collided with wall event, the game will go and tell the UI, say, hey, I need you to display this particular message because, things have just gone all haywire and the snake is dead. So let's just take a quick look and see how the messages class works. And it's very easy. The simple thing here is that we can we instantiate the class and we just give it a UI. We just give it an ID, and we just have the property ID. And why do we have that? Because there is basically two parts of the messages class. The first one is, and I'll scroll down here, is that it has a huge list of different default messages everything is based upon the different events that have occurred here. So for example, on this screen here, let's go back to our screen here. We got game over and collided with wall. See here, game over and collided with wall. If we go back to our highlight left, we have the game over event here, or the game over text there, and we got snake collision wall collided with the wall. These are the two messages to show you that there's a game over and there is a collision with the wall. So each and every single one of these events that are defined within our game event, and we'll get to the game event probably in the next video after this one. I'm not sure. Could be two videos. Depends upon how much more I get done. But the idea here is that once an event has occurred and the game has processed that event, it then is going to pass this particular message over to the UI so the UI can do whatever the heck it wants to do with it. Now, a lot of these messages are meaningless. For instance, when the UI has completed its work. So, for example, when we are doing the countdown, for example, well, now here we go. That's a good one. Well, that's a good one. All right, well, yeah, here's a good one. When we draw the score, because we just got finished doing the score video last, when we draw the score or update the score or clear the score out, we send a message, the UI sends a message back saying, hey, I've completed the task here, and I've got text here, but I usually just ignore that particular text here. So just to be able to make sure I've got everything complete, every single event that is possible has a message whether I use it or not. Now, what these could be used for is if we have any kind of debugging system. If we get real complicated with this game and we need to debug, then I can send these messages out saying, oh, okay, this is completed, that is completed, that rendering is completed, that rendering is completed, and so on and so on and so forth. And that may help with debugging. But in the game itself, the really important ones are, like game over, collided with wall, collided with self, things like that. Snake has moved, changed directions, anything like that. Those are the real important ones. But the idea here is that the first part of the game, of the messaging system, is that we have a default set of text. The second part is within the messages itself. And the messages itself basically deal with adding or updating or removing messages from the repository itself. And it's very simple. We can do an add, which will allow us to add a message ID and a message. This part, for example, on the game over is the message ID. Here's the message itself. Now, does the message ID have to be the game event.game over? It's probably a very good idea to do that, but it could be absolutely anything, as I'll show you here in just a minute. You can have anything you want to. So if you have your own set of events or your own set of triggers that you want to use, go right ahead. Doesn't matter to me. You can get a message based upon the message ID. You can get all the messages, as it says here, stored in a map with the key being the message ID and the value being the message. We can remove a message from the repository, or you can remove the whole shoot and match and create your own. It doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want. So let's take a look at the messages itself. It's real simple. Here is our repository of the default messages. So we start off with a map. And that's the important thing here is everything is going to be within a map. And again, within the map, with the initialization you have here, each entry is an array in which the 0th entry of the array is the key, and the 1th entry, if that's the correct one, the first entry, the number 1 entry, it's the index number 1 entry is the message itself. So you can see that each one of these has the key, and there's the value. There's the key, there's the value, and so on and so on and so forth, or whatever. And then we set the ID. If the ID has not been set, it sets it itself. And all the routines are real simple. Add, we just flat out add. I mean, it's your responsibility to add meaningful keys and meaningful values. It's not our responsibility to go check it. You just do it. Same thing with the get. We just go get it, and it will return undefined. Since a get will return undefined if it's not there, we return undefined if it's not there. Get all will get all the messages. What's very important here is that do notice that we create our own map with this, and that's extremely important in that, again, this is called data integrity. Once we set these messages, I don't want those messages to change unless I physically change them, like, for instance, removing it and then adding it back in. I can change those messages. So when I do a get all here, I don't want it to be able to get to any kind of object or anything. If we ever go to objects, which will allow me to change it, I want to be able to set my own value, or I want to be able to give it copies of those values. Remove removes it, removes all. And those are simple map methods on JavaScript map. A clear clears absolutely everything. A delete deletes a particular key. A get gets a key, and a set sets a key. And that's it. So why do we have this? Well, when I was developing the system here, let's go back over to our full screen. When I was developing the system and I had the game over collided with wall, and I had collide with self here, or collide with bomb, I realized that, okay, this is great, but what if once I develop the 2D one, I got to write all those messages again? And then if I write the 4D one, I got to write all those messages again. So I thought, no. Let's have a repository so that when the game gets a collision with wall, which it did in this particular case, it can then tell the UI, hey, I need you to print out the collided with wall message, and then I'm going to issue a game over event. And then the game over event will go to the AI and say, hey, the game is over. I need you to issue the game over text automatically. And then I realized once I created all this is that, what else we could do is, instead of hard coding all of this right here, eventually what we could do is have different JSON files for different, languages. You want to have Spanish, you want to have French, you want to have Portuguese or Chinese, having Chinese or Arabic or anything like that, especially if it's reading from right to, some of the right to left languages, that would be a trick to be able to get this thing done. And it can be done with internationalization. Or if you want to do Klingon for some strange reason, which is a cool thing to do. But if you want to do Klingon, you can have a Klingon version too. But the idea here is that with this messages, having one source of truth with all these messages, we're now free to put any message we want to for anywhere. If we don't want the word game over, if we want something else, we just replace it. Or if we want to do Spanish, we just put the Spanish version for game over there. So now we suddenly got Spanish. So we could the sky's the limit. We could do whatever we want to in any language we want to, because we have this one source of truth with the messages. And that's the power of having a messages class. Take it off the UI, put it in one spot. You can do anything you want to with it from that point. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to this channel to view more videos. Click on the like button on this video and visit us at TheVirtuoid.com. Also, support us on Patreon, where you can get access to member-only videos. Links are down below. Again, thank you very much for watching, and keep on coding.